welcome to the Silver Lining, the weekly geekly talk show where we discuss any number of topics that may have come up during the week. I'm your host, Uncle Silver, aka Silver Greg, aka Greg, whatever you're comfortable calling me, and welcome to you, my co-host, the chat. Always a fantastic time having anybody who might be here. I don't know. I feel it's gonna be a little light. Today. We got a couple of what do we say? Affiliated channels, channels that are associated channels streaming right now, channels associated with us specifically. So I know that the viewership is kind of all over the place. So we will do our best to BS through the show. But thank you, everybody. Hero Hyrule, what's going on? So this week was like, we always start out the show by talking about, I always talk about how my week was. It was just sort of weird week. Like, there's this weird sort of, which is understandable. It's understandable, but like life is in flux. You know what I mean? Like things happened, but at the same, like, things happened, and if they didn't happen, it probably would have felt like the exact same week. It's very weird. It's very hard to describe in a coherent way. It's funny because this is the week, last Saturday, I started watching, Saturday night, I was feeling down, I was feeling bad, and I needed something to cheer me up. So I turned on Netflix and I watched stops it as the thank you, I don't know, Chip. So Saturday night I'm feeling kind of down on myself and everything, feeling down about everything, and so I turn on a show, and it looks like it's gonna make me laugh, right? Kind of looks funny, kind of looks colorful and bright, and maybe that's a little bit entertaining. I had a little something in me, and so I click on it, and it's called for the regular people. You've heard me talk about this show over the past week. It's called The Midnight Gospel. So I watched the first episode, and by the end of the episode, my mind is like blown, right? Because I had no idea what I was getting into, and now that I was into it, I was like into it, right? So the next day, I'm sitting down. It gets around to nighttime. I did, all of my nothing that I do throughout the day. And I get around to nighttime, and it's like, okay, do I want to watch more of that show? Like, that it was crazy heavy. Do I want to watch more of that? Like, do I want to do that to my brain right now? And I knew that the answer was yes. So, like, I binged the rest of the show, which is the whole show is 8 episodes. I had already watched 1 episode. And then each episode's roughly a half an hour long. So I binged the rest of the show, and oh wow, that is a great show. This is the premise of the show, the setting of the show is that there's this character named Clancy, and Clancy he lives out in this weird sort of area of space, and what he does, hey, Mega Nintendo, John Poncho, Dragoon Knight, Flip Note, I see you're working, so that's cool. I don't know, Chip, I'm assuming I don't know Chip is in there somewhere, and Hero Hyrule, of course. So the setting of the show is that Clancy lives out in this sort of weird area of space, and what he does is he has this virtual world simulator. Like, it creates real Earths in their own universes, in each of its own universes. So what Clancy does is he goes into the virtual simulator, and he goes into these worlds, and he interviews people. He interviews people for his space cats, as he calls it. He goes out to space. And now, what I didn't know is that the rest of the setting is that Clancy's worlds are all dying. So he goes in like the first episode. He goes in and there's a zombie apocalypse happening. All of the worlds for whatever reason are somehow dying, or there's bad stuff happening. Hey, Marcos. Apparently that's not supposed to be the case. What the setting is that people illegally get these pieces of equipment, and then they go into these other worlds and they harvest their technology, is what's supposed to be happening. But Clancy's machine's all busted. He doesn't take care of it properly, so his worlds are dying. But he goes into these dying worlds and he finds people to interview for his space cast. So it's very much like a stream. So which automatically is like, okay, as a streamer, that appeals to me. The interviews, the settings are crazy, like the things that are happening. The interviews that he does are real interviews by the show's creator. One of the creators of the show is Duncan Trussell, who is a comedian, but he also does, or did, I think it's over, a series of podcasts where he speaks to scientists, researchers, people who are experts in their field. So he speaks to these people about certain topics. And then what the show is, when he does the interviews, is they're animating the discussions in these crazy settings. So that's what's happening. So then the discussions that you're hearing in the show are real discussions that he's had with real people who they are for whatever reason, like there's Dr. Drew Pinsky, which, like him or dislike him, I know that he was sort of he was a big, I think he was one of those TV doctors for a little bit. Caitlin Dougherty, who is I forget if she goes online as the mortician lady or something, but she has a YouTube series that Beth actually used to watch, or unless I think she still does actually. But she talks about death. She talks about but like what she calls the death industrial complex, which is the business of running funeral homes, running embalming, and all of that stuff. She talks about she'll talk about like mass deaths in different places. Like, it's a grim topic, but it's super fascinating. But that's what the show is. The whole show is like that. And it's funny because I have watched the entire series. As I said, it's only 8 episodes. I've watched the entire series 3 times all the way through. Episode 1 to episode 8, I've seen each episode 3 times already. It's 4, counting the first episode, because I showed the first episode to somebody else. That was all this week. Like, I was sitting here thinking about what I'm gonna, like, what happened to me during this week, and it's like, God, I've seen it. I've already watched it so much. And that was literally last Saturday was the day the night I watched the first episode, and then Sunday I watched the rest of the show. So the 2 creators of the show are Duncan Trussell, who is the comedian who is the one that's having these discussions, and he also voices Clancy, and then Pendleton Ward, I think is his name, Pendleton Ward, the person who animated or was responsible for animating Adventure Time. So you're gonna see a lot of those Adventure Time-ish styles of animation. It's just very, very interesting. I didn't watch Adventure Time. I know that there are some people out there who swear by Adventure Time the way they swear by Steven Universe. I watched like half of one episode of Adventure Time, and it didn't feel like it was for me. It felt like a very whatever's happening is happening, and I preferred something a bit more storyline related. Screen, what's happening? Are we okay? I see everybody. I don't know. Is the screen okay? My stream's looking fine. I'm moving around. Am I not moving around enough? So it's just a very interesting show. I would absolutely recommend you watch at least the first episode. It is wildly fascinating. Some Call Me Johnny rating with a party of 126. Welcome, everybody. I didn't know that you were going to stop so soon. I probably would have just waited. Sonic
your
was never
ideas are
good.
intriguing to me, and I wish to subscribe to your newsletter.
Sonic was never good. No, I don't know. Sonic 2, Sonic 3, Sonic and Knuckles, they were good. Sonic the
Your
Restaurant.
ideas are intriguing to me, and I wish to subscribe to your newsletter.
Oh, that was to correct my previous. Oh, yeah. Yeah, Sonic was good, right? Some call me cult leader.
Your ideas are intriguing to
Hey.
me, and I wish to subscribe to your newsletter.
LO Mates 2, Max Sullivan, and Dreams of Silver. I like it. Your nephew has created a hell. So welcome everybody. Welcome to the Silver Lining. This is our weekly podcast show.
Your ideas are intriguing to me,
Wario.
and I wish to subscribe to your newsletter.
Silver Demos. I love all of the names with silver in them. I may have to mute my. Can I mute these? Do I have a button for that? Yes, I have mute alerts. Just so we're not hearing it over and over and over and over and over. I mean, keep following, keep subscribing. We want to keep hearing that. I have them here. Loyal LZX, Husky Struck. Thank you so much for the follow. So this is our weekly podcast show where we just discuss. I've come up with a couple of topics, but I always ramble in the beginning. I was rambling about a show called The Midnight Gospel, which is on. It's on Netflix, by the way. I feel like I haven't even said that. It's on Netflix. It's called The Midnight Gospel, and it is a fantastic show. I already sort of went over the premise of the show. It's very, very interesting. I absolutely recommend you watch it. It's super deep. So absolutely be prepared for your brain to go through the ringer when you listen to these conversations. But that's sort of the point is you're supposed to come out of the Midnight Gospel thinking. Your brain is supposed to be considering what you've heard and adding to it in a way. Add your own spin on what it is, which is what I think I like about it so much. 150 viewers. Greg, your hair is gorgeous. Thank you, Chip. It takes work. Midnight Gospel. Press play. I was curious about that myself, and then I watched it, and I was like, whoa, okay, this is awesome. Oh, by the way, C Masters TCD and what? Tucks with that Twitch? What? Tucks with the Twitch? Thank you so much for the follows. Here, I think I can do that. That was like all. The reason I started talking about it was because I was going over what I did this week, and that's like, that was like a big part of it. It's got me wanting to do a podcast type show where I talk to somebody and we have interviews like that. It's got me C Masters TCD. Yeah. It's got me wanting to do that. Yesterday for the community day, we did a discussion of like 3 hours of discussion. I'll be honest, for anybody that was here for yesterday's show, we did 3 hours of discussion. Basically, it was sort of a back and forth where I wanted to talk to everybody about how they were feeling with everything going on recently and, with the human malware situation. And it spiraled from there into some crazy, crazy topics. But it was, when it was over, like we finished at like it was like 3 hours and 10 minutes or so when we wrapped it up. When we wrapped it up, I'm not kidding you, I considered streaming again later that night to do the same thing, to talk about more stuff, because I wanted to keep talking. And I think part of it is just that I have a lot on my mind. Like normally I just have a lot on my mind, but then with the show, with the Midnight Gospel, it's got me wanting to talk about it more. It's got me wanting to go a little bit deeper in it, which I won't do that here. I won't do that. Like, I won't go super duper deep here. But we will talk about stuff. Yeah. 6 hour stream went, 6 hour stream, probably not anytime soon. However, I am currently I'm getting ready to test something out. I'm getting ready to test out a kind of stream that I have joked about before, I have talked about before, and has been very, very interesting to me. The idea of it has interested me for a little while. I have already set out my layouts and everything. I have already decided, like, my equipment's already set up to do it. I just need to test it to make sure that it works. In an effective way. I'm not jerking it. I'm shaking my chalky milk here. I have imagined that Greg as a Mega Man and Maverick named Silver Bear. Why Bear Shot? Now I'm curious. You twisted my curiosity. Now why Bear Shot? Sorry I'm late. Had to work. Then my Splatoon team owned our opponents today 4-0. Congratulations, fantastic. I mute the mic so you don't have to listen to me like gulping down chalky milk. Delicious. Which I think I unmuted the mic too early there. So my week has been a sucker for. Are you a sucker for Hello Kitty stickers? Do you like my Hello Kitty Boo? Yes. You just seem like you have an animal spirit of a bear. Interesting. I wonder. Currently typing from a convention? Hello Kitty is dead. No, Hello Kitty's not. Hello Kitty will never die. Hello Kitty is a state of mind. But yeah, it's been kind of a weird week. I was saying earlier that this was like a week where things happened, but like if they didn't happen, it wouldn't matter. It's very, very weird. I'm an anime lockdown. Is that your Lizard? Is that your personal convention? I like it. I may have to go to anime lockdown myself at some point, which I have been. Oh, that's another thing I did watch. I watched, or I am watching an older show called Maid-sama. I don't know what the Japanese name would be. I think that's on Netflix also. It's called Maid-sama. That's a good show. I like that show. Hello Kitty is immortal. I'll show you the link. Oh no, it's an actual thing. I thought you were just sitting in your room and calling it a convention. So yeah, but yeah, it's like a weird week where like things happen, and if they didn't happen, it would still be the same week. I don't know. I don't know. Have you watched Erased? Erased? No, I feel like I know that name though. Maybe I'm thinking of Eraser with Was Eraser the Schwarzenegger movie? I made time to go. Oh, it's an online convention. Oh, interesting. Oh, yeah. Send me the link to that. I actually want to see. I want to see what that's all about. That's an interesting way to do that. So hopefully everybody here has been having a good week. Hopefully everybody is staying safe. You know, the human malware situation is doesn't seem to be letting up anytime soon. So hopefully everybody is finding their way through it, creating a new normal. That seems to be the thing. I think that's I think that the problem is there are people who are not creating a new normal. They're just sitting around waiting for the normal that they know to come back. I liken this to being trapped on a deserted island. If you find yourself trapped on a deserted island, you know, the plane has crashed, you have floated to the shore, right? Like you made it to the shore, you're alive. Thank you for answering my uncle question. Oh yeah, no problem. Oh, Husky, I'm glad you were the one that asked that question. That is, I can actually answer that question for you. Husky, I don't know if you're going to be here for the whole show. We go for about 2 hours. Around 6:30 or so, we do what's called viewer topics, where you can bring stuff up. I would be happy to answer that question in more detail. It is actually a question I've answered before, but I would be happy to answer that again. But yeah, I liken this to being stuck on a deserted island. The plane has crashed. You have floated to the shore on some debris. You're on the shore. What do you do? For the first few hours, for the most part, you try and gather some supplies, and you hang out on the beach. You question, you try and signal something, you know, a boat, a passing plane, anything like that. You try and make sure that you can be seen because you are expecting to be rescued relatively soon. By the end of the day, by the end of the first day, you need to realize that the savior, the new normal that you're looking for, because you're trying to get back to your life, that's probably not coming anytime soon. It obviously didn't come that day. It might not come tomorrow. You don't know. So eventually, you have to realize that you're stuck there and you're not going to get back. So the next thing, no, because in Animal Crossing New Horizons, you went there willingly. You're there on purpose now. So the next thing you need to do if you're trapped on a deserted island is to start. Yeah, you're trapped on the island. You didn't go to an island. The plane crashed and you ended up on shore. Now the job is to sort of build a life there, right? Like, you're trapped on this deserted island. You don't know when help is going to come, and that's what this corona stuff is. You don't know when the new normal is going to appear. So you need to start creating a life for yourself, right? You need to find shelter. You need to not only find food and water, but you need to find a regular way to get those things. You need to entertain yourself. You need to build your new life in this position that you're in, because you can't just every morning you wake up and you go sit on the beach and you hope somebody shows up, and then every evening you go to sleep, and then every morning you do it again. You can't do that. You're gonna die. You'll die fast if you do that. So you need to create a new normal for yourself, and that's what a lot of people don't seem to realize. The people who are struggling the most through all of this are not creating a new normal for themselves. They're not creating a new routine. They're not readjusting their expectations about when this is going to end, about what they are allowed to and not allowed to do. And I think for anybody here that is really struggling through all of this, evaluate your thought processes and figure out if maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe you are, instead of adjusting to what's going on, you're just sitting around waiting for it to be over. And yeah, that's kind of crazy. But Greg, they really need their haircuts. Well, you know what? Yeah, Lilac, you beat me. They got scissors and a mirror. You know what, Lilac? You have scissors and a mirror. You still have Amazon, so if you want to buy some clippers, you want to buy some hair dye. I know there's a lot of people upset they can't dye their hair. I remember seeing pictures of like, oh my grays. Like, okay, you didn't dye your hair. And you have YouTube. You have the internet. You have a million resources for how to learn how to do these things yourself, how to do them for other people. Quarantine isn't the problem, you are. Yeah. Yeah, that's one thing that's like, if I had a bunch of people here, you know, if there were like multiple people in my house, like I had kids or something like that, when it got to that point, my thought would be, all right, well, let me go to Amazon and order some clippers. Let me go to YouTube and watch some videos, watch a lot of videos, and try and figure out if I can do some of this on my own. You may be surprised. You know, this is not a vacation. This is not because a lot of people keep saying you need to come out of this. You should come out of this with skills or something. This is not a vacation. It's not fun. But that being said, you may actually end up inadvertently coming out of this with some skills that you had no idea you were capable of. You know, I guarantee you there's people right now that are fixing things in their house that they never had to fix before and never thought they could, but they can't call a repairman right now. I almost 100% guarantee you there are people learning to cook things that they never thought they were going to cook before, but they need some variety, and cooking things is better. You know, people that are wanting to learn languages. I know that there's people who, and those are the people who are actively doing something different. There are people who are trying to do things that maybe they didn't think they would ever do, but you know, they don't have the resource to pay somebody else to do it right now. So yeah, it's just in case. On a serious note, getting to know people not thinking about their surroundings. A person who works in retail now. As a person who works in retail now, I'm scared about when they go back to normal. Yeah, press play. I just saw something, supposedly, I didn't read the article. There was an island somewhere in Japan, or there was somewhere in Japan where they put things back too early, and now they had a boost in people getting sick and people catching corona. If you're so held up on getting your haircut, go bald. It'll come back. Trash. You're asking a lot of some of these people. That's what I was trying to get at yesterday. Yeah, if we just let the anxiety linger in us, we'll never make progress towards moving forward. We got to work through all of it. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. The bigger struggle for me is getting to cope with satellite internet and my parent. Oh God. Bald is beautiful. Yeah, bald is something that I had considered a long time ago. I decided to go the other way. The ones that truly dread quarantine are the men that spent the last year telling their wife, I'll get to it when I have time. And now you've got all the time in the world, and it turns out it wasn't time that was stopping you from doing it. Utah, Indiana, and Ohio already opened up businesses as of today. So yeah, I'm now press play. I remember seeing that in the beginning of May they were going to try it. So now I'm curious to see if they see spikes in infections. The curve going down doesn't mean it's just, yeah, apparently it doesn't disappear overnight. I wish I had your hair, Pika. I wished I had my hair too, and I decided to stop cutting it, and that's what happened. I ended up with this. So I'm actually really happy with it. I'll be honest, I need to get it trimmed a little bit because I've never had it cut before, but that's something that I probably need to do at some point. And who knows, we may end up with a me cutting my own hair live stream. A lot of airlines are begging to be allowed to be open as they're losing a ton. Well, that's something they need to figure out. That's you know what, Lilac. I have sympathy for those companies and for those big businesses that are struggling. But I say the same thing to them that they probably say to us is, well, you kind of need to figure it out. Yeah, Lizard, that's fine. That's fine. We normally do. I know there's a lot more people here than usual. All right. So you know what? I want to get into the topics here. I unfortunately did not have pictures ready. I didn't have any images ready to go. So I do apologize for that. I'll just be very with it. Hold on. I'll just be very bitter about it. I did not have anything ready to go. So what I'm gonna do is we're gonna talk about these. So I had two topics. I had like two topics, right? And then a third one came up a little late, and I didn't get to read about it. The first topic that I want to talk about is that I have the VentureBeat article opened up, which Dean Takahashi it can't play Cuphead, but the website is still okay. Nintendo is not. Apparently the rumor or the expectation is that Nintendo is not going to have a direct for June. So obviously E3 was canceled a little while ago, which we did discuss, and unless you have been off social media for a long time, that was sort of all over the place. So what a lot of people were expecting was for all of these companies to do, it's to be expected, for all of these companies to do their own presentations in some way. Nintendo has Nintendo Directs, Sony has States of Play, Xbox, Microsoft has Inside Xbox, and PC. I don't know if PC gaming doesn't really need a show specifically for them, do they? Aren't most PC games covered in other places? I don't know. That's actually interesting. Does PC have its own sort of direct type situation? Like, is there even a focused set of presentations for PC games? There's usually the PC gaming show at E3. Yeah, okay, so the PC gaming show, everybody was expecting, and then the developers were going to do their own thing. Like, that's what we were expecting. Nintendo had a direct a little while ago, and they're saying that it was a bit complicated. The bigger problem was that it was a bit dated. There were a lot of things in there that were probably like, we didn't really need to know. It's not a huge deal in my opinion, as long as people in Japan are staying safe. I can get there. Yeah. Microsoft Conference is I consider Inside Xbox the Microsoft Conference. PC has a show at E3, but most games are on PC.
Your ideas are intriguing to me, and I wish to subscribe to your newsletter.
Crankshaft Rabbit, thank you so much for the follow. Welcome. So the rumor now, I have the VentureBeat article here, and I read a little snippet of it for you. Nintendo is telling partner developers it's not going to hold one of its Nintendo Direct video events in June. The publisher has had a June Direct to correspond with E3 every year since 2013, and before that they had stage presentations. Nintendo was putting together a June event. The company was lining up partners and was planning to unveil its first-party schedule for the rest of 2020. That included highlighting the Mario franchise's 35th anniversary, which was going to celebrate the release of some classic 3D Mario games on Switch, according to various reports. But now the company is far less certain. If it holds another Direct, it may not come until the very end of summer. I've reached out to Nintendo, the company that was found for comment. So here's the weird thing. First of all, there are people saying that they expect it, that it's to be expected. I agree that things are up in the air and that it's easy for them to say, okay, we just can't do it for whatever reason. Here's why I don't believe it was expected, or rather why I did not expect it. Because I would not expect an organized skit-based Direct like we see for E3. I would absolutely not expect that. Someone should take me to the end of the summer. I would not expect that. Obviously, you can't put everybody together. You can't do filming, things like that. You can't, you know what I mean? Like, they always had these skits with, like, the Reginator and stuff. Like, you can't do any of that stuff right now. But there is no reason that people can't stream, or not stream, but record themselves just talking. Doing this right now, sitting here, talking into the camera, into a microphone, and saying, we have things planned for you, here we go, and showing the trailers for the games. You know, obviously we're not going to get big hype moments on stage or anything, which E3 Nintendo is not known for because they always show directs and stuff. But it should still be possible to put together some sort of presentation that lets people know what is on tap for the rest of the year. It's my issue with the Sonic announcements. I think the last Direct made it. Human malware warning was kind of a hint that this may happen. I'm sure a lot of Dragoon. That's what I expect. That's my concern. Is that because Nintendo apparently did cite somewhere that the human malware situation is making it difficult for them to put together a presentation. I don't think that it is a logistics issue of putting together a Direct. Personally, I think that it's about you have no idea what you can say. You know, they can't put a Direct together and say, check out these games coming by the end of the year, when realistically now they're not coming by the end of the year. We have no idea when some of these games might be showing up. So there's no way for certain games to be locked into place enough for them to make these announcements. I think that's the problem. Human malware. Crankshaft. I got into the habit. Steve from Gamers Nexus for a while was calling the coronavirus and COVID-19 human malware because YouTube was getting on everybody about saying coronavirus. They didn't want people spreading a bunch of stuff. So they were like demonetizing videos. I just like the term. I thought human malware was funnier than just saying I'm sure everybody's sick and tired of hearing
your
COVID.
ideas are intriguing to me, and I wish to subscribe to your newsletter.
Chaos Enforcer 91, thank you so much for the follow. I'm sure by now people are tired of hearing COVID, corona, stuff like that. So human malware is just funnier. Just call it Bud Light virus. Well, Crank, I wanted to call it Pabst Flu Ribbon, but it didn't catch on. Have you seen the new Ghost of Tsushima theme? No, I have not. That's my problem with the Sonic announcements. Greg, because of this outbreak, it's likely that a lot of these games are going to be delayed or canceled. Yeah, exactly. I'd rather not risk devs getting sick just to work on it. Yeah, in Lizard, that's my issue. That's my biggest speculation, is that this is more about the fact that they can't announce these games because they don't know when they're coming out. Because Nintendo is notorious for only announcing things at E3 that are going to be coming out within the next year. Like Metroid Metroid Prime 4 was probably the earliest they've ever announced something. Some speculation I've heard is that Japanese companies are having a hard time doing work from home. Owning a work PC at home still isn't as common over there. Yeah, I've heard that before. You know what, Mr. L, not a PC, a PC that is capable of doing the work that they need to do. That is not super common over there. Here's the thing, Greg. In Japan, not a lot of people have the ability to work from home. So in order to make it direct, it's going to take a lot of time. Yeah, and that's the thing. Press play. I don't think it's about making a direct, because you can make a direct very simply. You can put together a video of. I could do it. I could have somebody to represent a couple of games in a presentation where they record themselves talking, they read off a little short script, and then they send that footage to somebody, and then somebody splices it's that footage, and then it's the trailer, and then it's the introduction of the next person and the trailer. Like, it doesn't seem very complicated to do in a matter of 2 months. I mean, YouTubers have been doing it for years and years now, with much smaller time frames. So I don't mean to sound like that. I don't mean to sound like that guy, like, you could do it. But I feel like logistically it's possible. I think the problem is that the release of these games, the timing of these games, the development of these games, I think that's what's being held up. So they can't put an announcement packet together because they can't verify that all of these announcements are going to happen. What do you think about Summer Games Fest? Okay, so Summer Games Fest, plus even if these games made a lot of physical games are getting, yeah, exactly. So Summer Games Fest, I just saw this earlier today. Let me look it up now, because I just saw somebody say something about it, and I don't know what it is. I didn't get a chance to read it because it popped up very early. So let me see. I'll actually look it up right now. Summer Game Fest. They could still announce things in trailers. We got a lot of stuff on Xenoblade. Mr. L, yeah, that was the other point that I was going to bring up. All right. So this is Summer Game Fest. May through August of 2020, an industry-wide celebration of video games. All right, so the website's not up yet. Let's see. Hold on. Here we go. Okay, so we got a Twitter post here. It's time to play. This is from Jeff Keighley. I'm not going to read the whole thing because it's very long and complicated. Today, I'm proud to announce, this is from Jeff Keighley on Twitter. Today, I'm proud to announce Summer Game Fest, a 4-month-long season of news events from all your favorite game platforms and publishers. It's all the news you've been waiting for, but also in-game events, playable content, and demos of select titles, and a bunch of fun surprises. Summer Game Fest isn't a singular show, but a whole season for events. The schedule hub at summergamesfest.com will guide you through the next 4 months to make sure you don't miss a thing. Amazing events, blah, blah, blah. Okay. That kind of sounds like what I had been saying E3 should have become. I remember when we talked about E3, one of the times when we talked about E3, we talked about what E3 could become. And one of the ideas that I had was you started to see more of these shadow drops, right? You started to see these E3 presentations where they were showing you a game and they were saying that game will be available today. That game will be available next month, but there's a demo dropping today. They started doing things like that. That's what E3 should be. E3 and what the Game Awards are these events that we watch, but we don't get to participate in them, right? We don't get to do anything. We watch it and then we start talking about whatever they talked about. When you start shadow dropping games that coincide with those presentations, it feels more interactive, because now we're watching and it's like, oh, I hope that's available now. Maybe that's available now. That's what this feels like. This Summer Games Fest thing feels like 4 months seems a bit long, but what it feels like is that you're supposed to wait for these announcements, and then these announcements are going to coincide with things like game releases, which is awesome because it's exciting, it's interesting, and it's interactive. That's one of the reasons that we like that stuff. I don't doubt for a second that some of these presentations are going to feature streams, where we're not just going to talk about the game. We're not just going to show you footage of the game. We're going to play the game. You know, hey, check out Digital Devolver's got 5 new games coming up. Every night this week, we're going to show you one of those games. We're going to go live stream. We're going to take feedback. We're going to take live feedback in the chat. It's why I love streaming so much, because it is an interactive event. That's what a lot of this stuff could be. So Summer Games Fest sounds like a decent replacement. The fact that we're not getting a Nintendo Direct is definitely softened, because we know that something like this event is going to come up. Yeah, 4 months of game reveals, which is funny because it's already May. so excuse me, sir, Mr. Keeley, where the hell is my where are my video games? 4 months of EA Sports. I'm sorry. Let me run back up here. Hold on. That's what happened with Anthem. Hold on. Let me jump a little bit ahead there. Metro's still a ways off. Plus, even if the games get made, a lot of I read the one. Pikmin 4. Pikmin 4 wasn't actually announced. I think right. Pikmin 4 was never actually announced. We just assume it's going to happen. Nintendo is finally going to announce the release date for Pikmin 4. Oh yeah, there we go. This is the very next comment. Iwata announced Smash Brothers for 3DS and Wii U before it was actually in development. Yeah, Nintendo themselves has said that they don't like doing that stuff, which I appreciate. That's what happened with Anthem. EA said, give us what you have, and the developers were like, oh, so this is what our game is going to be. They could still announce things in trailers. We got a lot of stuff. Yeah, and Mr. L, that was another topic that I wanted to say. Like, okay, they're not going to have an organized direct. It doesn't mean they're not going to give us announcements, right? It doesn't mean that we're not going to have a day where we get a bunch of shadow drops. It doesn't mean that we're not, for all we know, given the volume of stuff that Nintendo packs into their E3 directs, like the big ones, and then they have the Treehouse and stuff, realistically, they could make a big announcement once a day for the entire month of June, and it would be a hell of a month. Definitely not going to be coming out anytime soon. Fair enough. There's still a lot of complications about. Yeah. Press play. Yeah, I'm not denying for a second that this is all complicated. My purpose is, my point was just that as far as them releasing a direct, they can do something. Like, you can do something and not nothing. We stream here 4 days a week. If I had a major announcement, maybe I could do it in stream, or I could just put something on Twitter. And that's the only problem, is that it kind of sounds like Nintendo's doing nothing. And it's like, well, maybe they'll actually do something. Nintendo and I think Ubisoft are not involved. Nintendo and I think Ubisoft are not involved with the Summer Game Fest as of yet. That they've announced, because I think this announcement was just today. This announcement from Jeff Keighley is from 6 hours ago. So that's from today, May 1st. May. Miyamoto said it was coming. The Miyamoto keeps saying Pikmin 4 exists. I mean, it seems like Pokemon DLC and Smash Characters 6 are still on track for June. We'll see. They should be. I guess it's a matter of, Ryan, I wonder if it's just a matter of that stuff, like how complete that stuff was. So that's always interesting. I would not be at all surprised if the Smash Brothers character comes out on time, but the Pokemon stuff gets delayed, because the Pokemon stuff is probably much more involved than Smash Brothers, than making a Smash Brothers character. So will Sony finally show up the PS5? I would like to see. You know what, Potato? Going back to what I was saying earlier, I would love for Sony to say, hey, everybody, it's time that we show off the PS5. Why don't we do a stream? You know what I mean? Like, instead of just showing B-roll of the PS5 with the camera spinning around the system and then some pre-recorded footage, why not say, let's check out a stream using our PS5. Let's see what happens. I think that a lot of people will say, this is awesome. And even if something goes wrong, because that's always the big concern, is that you're gonna play the system live and then it's gonna catch fire or something. Even then, it's gonna be good publicity, but it's gonna show people that you are real. That this is a thing that's actually happening, that they're watching, and that's more interesting. It's more interactive. I believe that interactivity is like the future of gaming, of game promotion, is that it's going to be a much more interactive area. The Pokemon stuff, however, can be done remotely easily. They don't have anything like VA to worry about. Yeah. Well, VA stuff. I mean, VA stuff. Realistically, you can do remotely. You send people. You know, I watched videos where like VAs talk about how they get work and stuff, and a lot of them say the same thing, that they get contracts. They're given scripts. They record their own material, and then they send it back. They send the raw material back to the company, and then they do whatever editing they need to from there. So it's possible. It's a VA work outside of a studio is actually possible. I mean, the funny thing is, if you talk about VA work and bringing somebody into a booth to record them, it's entirely possible to do that in an isolated environment. That's literally what a VA booth is that it's an isolated environment. So it's funny that there is a way sort of technically to do that. It's just, don't, because it's relatively unsafe. Hey, Prez. But Greg, if they stream, how will we know the teraflop? Yeah, I know. Look, I know. On stage, when there's a lot of room, we can see the teraflops. They unzip and they no. Well, yeah, they unzip first, and then there you go. You know what I mean? They whip it out, and then they show
ribs. Spare ribs.
Chicken tech demo. As Lilac's throwing her 100 bits worth of ribs at me. What did I say her? Throwing 100 bits worth of ribs at me. Thank you, Lilac, for that. I guess just because I'm thinking of Lilac from Freedom Planet. Okay. But yeah. On the big stage, we can see all the flops. On the stream, we might not be able to see all the flops. So we'll have to figure out what to do there. Funimation is operating remotely. Yeah, it's entirely possible. I had the name first. She stole it off me. So this no Nintendo Direct thing is like a lot of things. I always say wait and see. I always say to wait and see, and pay attention to the wording. No Nintendo Direct, which means no organized event for announcements. But that doesn't mean we're not going to get announcements in June. That doesn't mean we're not going to get announcements through the rest of the year. Like somebody mentioned, we got a whole bunch of information on Xenoblade, which is an upcoming game, so that's understandable. But there's no reason that Nintendo can't just have Doug Bowser doing a stream where he just talks about the things that are coming up. A Nintendo Direct, and that's what I mean when I talk about the wording. A Nintendo Direct is a pre-recorded event that is recorded, edited, and presented to us in one chunk. There is nothing to say that they can't do streams of different upcoming games, of Doug Bowser talking about games. There's nothing to say that they can't do treehouses. The Nintendo treehouse always shows off a bunch of stuff. That is effectively just a stream, right? Just do treehouse. They can do treehouses 8 hours a day for 3 days in a row, and people will watch all of it because that's where they're going to announce things. That's where we're going to see them play things. That's more interesting. Spectre Salmon rating with a party of 3. Welcome, affiliate official. I'm assuming you just hit affiliate status. Congratulations. I like to see a lot of people coming up. I'm gonna allow that word. Rate time. Well, Treehouse is more a live interview while streaming. But Dragoon, why not transform it into a live stream where they can interact remotely with other people? They can interact with the developers of the games that they're talking about, and then the developers can get live feedback. We can see we're not going to be able to hear the applause of the crowd, but we can see the chat go crazy when 50,000 people are watching these events, more so than that. What do you think? Let me ask you, what do you all think? if Nintendo did a 2-hour presentation, a live stream presentation, how many people on Twitch or YouTube, because I think they do YouTube streaming, how many people do you think would tune in to see that? To see them say, hey, check out this new game that's coming out in 3 months. Oh, by the way, let's play it for 20 minutes. What do you think? I think that could be into the millions of people watching a single stream like that. I'm sure they can, but I imagine they may make it showing off local co-op game a bit harder. I mean, obviously, yeah, but you're not going to be able. But that's the sort of thing that you can't do at an E3 presentation. You know, it's more difficult to show off things like co-op in a pre-recorded setting. You know, on a stream, you can absolutely do it. I'd rather just do a direct with no dates for things whenever we get them actively done. Whenever we can actively get them done. I don't know. I think I would rather see a sprawling event. That way we can still get the dates, because if you don't like the event, let's be clear, if you don't like the event, just don't watch it. And then wait for the 3 days of Treehouse to be over, and then read all of the events, read all of the things that they announced. That's fine. I think that's okay. But me personally, I like to see games being played, not just watch pre-recorded footage. I would like to see the person interacting with some of these games. So that's more interesting to me. Like, that's what I would like to see. I wouldn't watch it, but I would watch whatever announcement supercut. Yeah, that's an announcement supercut that's uploaded post stream. Yeah, you just watch the next day, and someone's gonna put together a list, or you just watch Twitter, because you know us. I love to live tweet when these events are going on, because I need to say something. I like to live tweet for events like this, but I don't like to live stream them, because I start focusing on talking about stuff, and then I'm not paying attention. And then there's always a bunch of stuff that I want to say. Hold on. Drink. Truck time. I like the way it is at the moment. Direct, then hours of Treehouse of them playing the games. Yeah, so Elements, and that's my point. Elements is that they're saying that the direct part can't happen. So why not roll that in some way into the Treehouse part? So you're still doing something. You still have 2 or 3 days of presentations, but instead of a pre-recorded presentation packet, you are just streaming. You're live streaming these game announcements. But if they can't do the direct, there's no way they can do. Well, Ryan, they can't do the Treehouse in the way they've done it before, which is the organized. They have the event area where they do these things. They have guests that show up. Like, they can't do it like that, but they can easily do live streams of new and upcoming games and just call it the Treehouse. That's all they have to do. A nice set somewhere with a skeleton crew of 3 or 4 people. I mean, there are streams out there that draw in tens of thousands of people, and it's one person working on it. So it's entirely possible to come up with a bare bones version of a Treehouse. Yeah, a lockdown Treehouse would literally just be a stream. So why not do it? You know, that seems fine. Oh, no, you're missing what I'm meaning. If they're not willing to do a direct just to show trailers, then a Treehouse is completely out of the question. Since that's even more info about games that they do. Yeah, okay, I see you on that. I see you on that, in that they still can't make the announcements about games. What I would say to that is, if it's possible, because I don't know how much stuff they have on tap, if it's possible, even just a minor stream about playing what can, remember, some of those E3 events, some of those announcements that they make in E3 presentations and Nintendo Directs, some of that stuff is very upcoming. You know, we watch Directs, and then the game is available later that day, or the game is available in a week or something like that. Like, there are a few times where they do that stuff. My whole point of all of this, and I'll wrap this up now, my whole point of all of this is just that it feels like they're going to do nothing. And that's sort of how everybody's taking it. Where everybody's taking it as, oh my God, Nintendo's not doing anything in June. my point is that they can do something. Maybe not a Nintendo Direct. Maybe not a Treehouse the way we know it as. But it's still not off the table for them to do some sort of announcement structure, whether it is just Twitter posts or whether they make a schedule for dropping big trailers. You know, if you went, yeah, at this point it's not at this point it's not absolutely confirmed, but supposedly Nintendo started telling hold on, I have the article here. Nintendo has started telling partner developers that they're not going to hold an event in June. It feels like they're not going to do anything because the Direct is probably the easiest thing they can do, really, of all things considered. Unless they just want to Twitter post. Yeah, which Twitter post. Well, Ryan, here's another idea. Hey, Brian, 2030. Another idea that I had was you drop a trailer, right? You drop a big trailer for the game. E3 is, you know, and again, this is only for games that they know they have a rock solid schedule release date for. You can't drop a trailer for you can't drop a trailer for Metroid Prime 4 right now because you have no idea when that's going to happen. I mean, you can drop a trailer for it. I'll be happy with that, but you have no idea when that's going to happen. But if you do it on June 1st for a game that's scheduled to come out June 4th, you can be pretty sure that's going to happen. So what they can do is take a week during June and say, okay, every morning at 10 a.m., we're going to release a trailer for a new game. And then on Twitter, we're going to answer questions about it. And now what you've got is you don't need a presentation. You don't need scheduling or anything you don't need a whole bunch of stuff. But now you have created a hype machine that every 10 in the morning, the people are going to say, oh my God, what's Nintendo going to say today? What are we going to see today? And this creates hype. It creates buzz. And really, that's what these all are. All of these are hype generators. We've talked about this before. If, as an info dump, all you need to do is post things on Twitter. The internet will do the rest, right? Everybody will start talking about it. The internet will be a buzz, and they'll spread the news for you. All you need to do is Twitter posts. If all you want to do is get information out there. But if you want to get information out there in a more interesting, presentable, hype-generating way, that's one way that you could do it. Just have a schedule where every morning at 10 a.m. Eastern or Pacific, you are putting a new trailer for a new game that's coming out that has not been announced yet. I think it's a way to do it. Then just do it direct. Well, but Ryan, but they said they're not going to do it direct. See, and that's the thing. It all sort of loops back around. Just a presentation, and I'm not saying a presentation. I'm saying just a video trailer because that's what E3, you know, those things always are. It's a presentation and then a trailer. I'm just saying to show the trailer. And yeah, they won't do a trailer. They won't do a direct. So that's fine. It's totally understandable. It's understandable that they're not going to do an organized recorded event, but it doesn't mean that they can't do nothing. And that's basically my not in the slightest HCC. Anyone can record a voiceover of their own and then you just edit it with the trailers. Yeah, Ryan. Exactly. So why not do that and have a schedule where Nintendo releases those videos? It will generate hype. I think it would generate hype. Oh, talking to Hero Cats. Oh, Hero Cats. That requires people to go. Yeah, no, I don't think. Yeah, Hero Chaos. Ryan's right. It doesn't require anybody to interact physically with each other. Doing something like that. You know, anybody else in this chat who is a content creator knows you do your own editing and stuff like that. You do a voiceover, you splice it with a trailer, right? And then that's it. And then that's the big thing. But why do a schedule? That seems pointless. Ryan, the reason you do a schedule is so that people can be hyped and they can follow it. See, right now, it's like the Wild West. Like that Xenoblade event, or whatever it is that they showed, and they talked about Xenoblade Chronicles coming out, which is coming out soon. I found out about that because I saw somebody else posting something about it on Twitter. Like, it just came through word of mouth. Now, what if Nintendo had said the day before, hey, at 10 a.m. we're going to release a 5-minute video that talks about this game. It would have been a lot of hype. There would have been hype about it. There would have been people talking about it beforehand. But Ryan, but that's I know. I agree with you that it's probably not going to happen. I'm just saying that it could. I'm just saying that there is a way to do this that doesn't mean nothing. And that's my only point, is that there are ways to do these things. A direct and organized 45-minute event is much bigger and much more complicated to do, especially with Nintendo, because Nintendo always puts on these skits. I'm not talking about putting on a skit. I'm not talking about an organized thing that is 45 minutes long. I'm talking about each person being assigned to a game. Let's say there's a lot of Nintendo employees and presenters. Each person being assigned to a game and saying, okay, we need a 5-minute discussion. We need a 2-minute presentation intro. And then we're going to give you the trailer. And then you're going to splice the trailer together. And then that's it. And then that's what gets uploaded. That's it. No skit. No nothing like that. Recorded from their house. That's all. That's logistically, that's an easier thing to do. But it's still better than nothing. And I think that's the big problem, is everybody's worried about nothing. Greg needs his Nintendo. No, Chip, I don't need my Nintendo fix. If they don't do anything, then so be it. But I know a lot of people do want their fix. And not just from Nintendo. I know that a lot of people like this from everybody. E3 is a big event for a reason, because people like these large-scale info dumps that they can interact with. They can go online and you read these events and you see the events and you go online and you talk about them. People like that sort of thing. And right now in this time, we need something. I don't know what that something is. Whatever that something may be for each individual person, we need something. What we don't need is nothing. And to cancel everything and not do anything to try and replace it in some way is not what people want to hear right now. You got newscasters and stuff that are doing videos from their homes. There's ways to do certain things. So you can't tell me that, okay, Nintendo's not doing a direct, so they can't do anything at all. I absolutely do not believe that. There is no way that you're going to tell me that a large company like Nintendo that can give resources to all of its employees when they need it and if they need it, there's no way you're going to tell me that they can't do this thing, so they have the ability to do nothing. And that's that's the biggest thing that bothers me about it, is that if you do make an announcement that you're not going to have a direct, please also make an announcement that you are going to do something else. All I need you to tell me, here's what you say. This is Nintendo. I had an uncle that works at Nintendo, so hopefully he's watching this. This is what you need to say. You need to go on Twitter or maybe make a YouTube video or something, and you need to have one of them talking, an individual, but realistically it's easier to do on Twitter, and you need to say, Nintendo has made the hard decision that...
Your idea is intriguing to me, and I wish to subscribe to your newsletter.
Brandon Gaming 19, thanks so much for the follow. Welcome. We at Nintendo are sad to announce that there will not be a Nintendo Direct to replace the cancellation of the E3 event during the month of June. However, please keep your... be aware of Nintendo's YouTube and Twitter accounts, as throughout the month we will be updating you on new upcoming games that may or may not have been announced yet. That seems simple enough, because now we know, okay, so we're not going to get an organized event, but throughout the month of June we're going to occasionally hear about brand new games. We're going to occasionally hear about events that may be coming up for games. We just don't want to be left with nothing. And I think that that's a common feeling, is that we just don't want to not have anything. The only thing I'm semi-sure of is that we'll get a small video from Sakurai for the ARMS character for sure. Yeah, God, I kind of forgot that happened. Square Enix just did a live letter for Final Fantasy XIV. They had them record from their offices, but they were sealed from each other. Each streamed their side and then spliced the stream together to make it similar to the normal video. They did cut out a lot of the goffs that they sometimes do, and had to focus on just getting the info out, then interacted with the game for the rest. Hey, Lilac, exactly. That's exactly what I would like to see. You literally can't tell me that that's not possible because Lilac is saying that it has already been done, and it has always already been done. Companies have done that before. I've seen announcements on Twitter for companies that are saying, "Hey, we're going to be demoing our game online. Come check it out and let us know what you think." Like indie developers do that especially. I like that. Okay, I see what you're talking now. You just want concrete proof that Nintendo not doing anything instead of third party saying it. Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. We need absolute confirmation. But I just don't want them to say we're not doing anything. Never mind, go home, stay home. Tell me that you're not gonna have it direct, but you're gonna, throughout the month of June, like keep an eye on Nintendo because they might be doing something. That's all I want. But we are okay. Hold on. Boom. Hey Jones, what's going on? We're gonna topic change here. Okay, so we're gonna topic change here, but I have kind of a problem. I'm having kind of a problem, and I may need your help with this. So here was the plan. The next topic was supposed to be about the leak from The Last of Us 2. And I have here the original story. I'm on Ars Technica right now, and Ars Technica posted a story about The Last of Us 2. The original story was that Naughty Dog, which is the developer of the game. I always get developer and producer of the game mixed up. Naughty Dog, apparently people were saying, is a bad company. Like they treat their employees bad and they don't pay them. Yeah, okay, developer, I got that one right. So the rumor or the story, not rumor, the story that I had heard was that there was a conflict with one of the employees in particular, and this employee decided to leak. The employee decided to leak information about The Last of Us 2, which included details about the storyline and details about the ending. I don't know if there was footage or not. I didn't look up anything. Last of Us 2 was not really up my Last of Us was not really up my alley. Admittedly, I didn't try it, but something about it just didn't grab me to actually play the game. But I didn't think too much about that. I was interested in the other half of the story, which was the Naughty Dog being a crappy developer, and then this employee sort of ruining the experience for everybody by releasing the information. Then I went to go and read the story not 30 minutes before I started the stream. I wanted to sit down and read the story. I like to reread the articles so that they're fresh in my mind. According to this, updated literally today, says update May 1st, in a follow-up statement provided to Ars, a Sony Interactive Entertainment rep said the company had, quote-unquote, identified the primary individuals responsible for the unauthorized release of Last of Us 2 assets. They are not affiliated with Naughty Dog or SIE. We are unable to comment further because the information is subject to an ongoing investigation. We're looking forward to The Last of Us. So that kind of threw a wrench in my entire discussion sort of mental thread, because now what they're saying is that this person, whoever it was, these people that leaked the game or leaked information about the game are not actually the employee. So that whole story, that whole original story was not true, right? Like I don't know, maybe Naughty Dog is a crappy company, maybe there were employees who were pissed off, but apparently according to this update, they're not actually employees. So I'm kind of glad that we didn't talk about this just like super quick. Yeah, right. The plot thickens. Like they're not going to talk about who, which it says here, They're not going to talk about who actually did it because it is an ongoing investigation. It is a breach of NDA. Well, actually, that's the thing. Since we don't know who did it, we don't actually know that the people were under NDA in order to stop them. Like, we have no idea how this stuff got out at this point. Apparently, it's just not. Employees would be under NDA, but anybody else is not. Like, I'm not under an NDA for Last of Us 2, but I didn't play it. The plot thick is American journalism. Crunch at ND was probably the negative about. Yeah, and that's the thing. The crunch at Naughty Dog I remember hearing about before, so I think that's legit. But now my thing is the stuff that was leaked wasn't a tiny amount. It was, yeah, that's the only problem. It was apparently a massive chunks of the story, including the ending, which is very interesting. The scrap multiplayer that it is in the code, that's in the code. There's someone not involved in that. Yeah, and like exactly. If they're not involved with the company to the point where they don't have an NDA against them or on them, how do they have access to this much information? That seems, and that fact right there, that it makes me question how much access they had, makes me question whether or not this is actually a true statement. That they are not affiliated with Naughty Dog or SIE. That's not possible, right? Like, it doesn't feel like that's possible for somebody not affiliated in any way with these companies in order to have access to these things. Like, let's take the most ridiculous. Oh, I don't think it's fair to judge the game story, but no, Mr. L, my understanding was that there was also text about what the story was. Like, it's obviously it could be different, but if you have these big details, that's, you know, we talked yesterday. Somebody mentioned yesterday about the idea of does and that's actually an interesting point. Do these leaks make you more or less likely to play the game or anything? But let's come up with a goofy scenario. We're gonna come up with a weird, dumb scenario here that I feel like makes sense, right? There's a janitor, right? Like, there's some janitor cleaning the bins at late at night, and he somehow has access to. He decides that he's going to do something dastardly, and he gains access to the computers, and or somebody leaves the computer on or something, and he upload. This is the most ridiculous scenario ever. Apparently the janitor would also have to be Hacker Man. But let's say that happens, and that's how this person has access to the information. Even that person has to work for one of these two companies, right? Like, I know that they source out like cleaning companies and stuff, but realistically, if you're giving a cleaner access to your building that you know has sensitive data that could theoretically be stolen, they would probably either not allow them into those areas, or they would only allow specific people into those areas. So in some way, yes, they would still be associated with the company. Like, you know, it just seems weird. It just seems like, it's like, would you say potato damage control? That's sort of what it feels like. Like somebody, like, this whole story came out, and then Sony had to come out, and Naughty Dog had to come out and say, "Oh, I'm not affiliated with you." I'm picturing the janitor from Scrubs. It's not impossible, and it's very improbable. There's no way someone at ND or SIE would allow anyone to say, and press play. And it's like a goofy scenario. It's definitely a dumb scenario. My point with that scenario is that somebody who is not affiliated with the company one way or another, I'm not entirely sure how they would gain access to it, short of somebody hacking into their network, which in which case would be Hacker Man. But how much? I guess they would. Like, how much? I was gonna say, how much work would somebody put in just to steal some video game information? But let's be honest, some people do it just for the lulz. I know someone brought up the whole working from home was a security issue when working on a game. Usually you are on a closed system network. Obviously, to work from home, you need to be able to send it to other people. Yeah, meaning that it's open. But even then, I don't think the amount taken would be at that level. The theory I thought of Sony spinning it. The guy was removed, so he isn't affiliated with it. Yeah, maybe Lilac. It is a semantics issue where it's like the person who did this is not affiliated with us now. I'm half listening to this, half playing Final Fantasy 15. Congratulations, thank you. Good to know I'm only worth half of your attention. I won't take that personally, but I will probably go to sleep crying tonight. Chalky note. Oh yeah, feels bad, man. feels bad. So yeah, so like that kind of threw a whole monkey wrench into my entire discussion. I was kind of interested in that, but there is actually a discussion there to be had, and the discussion is that does this affect your ability to enjoy the game? I know some people have already said that they weren't going to play it. Elements wasn't going to play it anyway. First of all, did you look at these leaks? Chat, give me a roll call here. Give me a yes or a no. Did you look at the Last of Us 2 leaks? I'm interested to see how many people did. I looked at a few things. No, because I don't care. No. So we got a yes. We got a few no. I'm interested to see. This is also a litmus test to see who's actually listening. Marco, yes, but not story details. Yes, no. I haven't seen the leaks. I don't particularly care about the game. No, I want to play the game for myself. So it looks like mostly no. Yes, because I don't play Last of Us. Mitchie, which was probably what I was gonna do. Because I never even played the first one. I was probably gonna look at the leaks just to see. Literally because I'm probably not gonna play the game anyway. No, but my cousin probably call to arms. I did, but I wasn't planning on playing anyway. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it looks like most people have it, and the people that did it because they probably weren't going to play it anyway, or they just don't care. The topic is very interesting in the aspect of I found the sequel unnecessary. Yeah, I remember reading about the ending of the first game, and I remember thinking, does that work? Is there an ending there to be had? Maybe the first game have multiple endings. That's what always happens with some of those. Like you didn't need a sequel, but you wanted to make one anyway, so whatever. Do these releases, like, do they ruin a game for you? Like, obviously we got a lot of people saying that they were not going to play it because they didn't really care about the franchise or the game itself. So I'm interested in what if it was a game that you liked? Would you look at the spoilers because they're out there? Would it ruin your experience? Because the question that was asked to me yesterday was, does finding out a spoiler ruin the experience for you? And one of my answers was, well, my answer basically was that it alters the experience for me, because if you tell me that there's this big dramatic reveal at the end, right? Like if I don't know there's a big reveal at the end, let's do this in stages. Let's say there's a big reveal at the end and I don't know it, right? I watched the movie. We're doing this as a movie. I watched the movie. I play the game, but like I said, we're doing this movie. I watch it and I say, okay, the movie's moving along, and then there's a big dramatic, oh my god. When you tell me that there is a reveal at the end, but you don't tell me what the reveal is, you just tell me that there's a big reveal at the end of the movie, at the end of the game. Now I watch it and I think, oh, what's the secret? What's the big reveal? So now I'm not just absorbing it. Now I am actively scanning it, looking for clues as to what the big reveal is going to be. And then when the big reveal happens, I either say, I knew it. Or I say, oh, whoa, I thought it was going to be something else. Then there is the somebody spoils the end for you, right? Like they spoil the ending. They tell you there's this big giant reveal at the end, and here's what it is. I could probably still enjoy the movie. But now what I'm going to be doing again is scanning the movie, but now I'm looking for specific things, right? Like when I'm going to spoil it. Sorry. I'm sorry if you haven't seen this movie, but you've had 20 years to watch this movie. Bruce Willis is dead at the end of what the hell is it called? Sixth Sense. I See Dead People. Bruce Willis is dead the whole time. Sorry, I don't mean to spoil that for you. When I watched it, I knew there was a big reveal at the end, but I didn't know what it was. Yeah, that's like a public secret. Yeah, there was a big thing, like when Sixth Sense was out and it was new, a lot of people were saying like, oh, the ending's gonna blow your mind. But they weren't saying what it was. So that's how I watched the movie. I watched the movie knowing that there was this big dramatic reveal at the end, but we didn't know what it was. So I spent the movie trying to figure out what the big reveal could be. And I suspected that he was dead. And then at the end, they finally confirmed it, and it's like, whoa. Unbreakable was another Bruce Willis movie, which is a fantastic movie, by the way, that I had also sort of heard. I kind of expected because it was an M. Night Shyamalan movie, so I was expecting kind of an ending, but I didn't hear anything about it. When it got to the end, and he shakes his hand, and you see the truth, I was legitimately like, oh, whoa, oh, that's awesome. And then when I watched the movie again, I look for the clues. Right, like that's what you do. And like, I watched The Sixth Sense twice. Like I watched it the one time trying to figure out what the secret was, and then I watched it again knowing what the secret was, looking for the little clues that were like, oh, that's why this was like that. That's why this was red, because there was a thing about red in The Sixth Sense where everything that was red was something that he wanted to interact with but couldn't. Something like that. So that's how I watched it. So when somebody spoils something, like Last of Us 2, I haven't read the spoilers. If I read the spoilers and then played the game, what I would do is be playing the game, looking for clues to the spoilers. Like, oh, that's clever. Okay, I see now, because at the end, she's actually a monster or something. What the hell is the last one?
Your ideas are intriguing to me, and I wish to subscribe to your newsletter.
Mitchellina, thank you so much for the follow. Welcome. Yeah, it was a much bigger deal back then. Yeah, Rosebud. Yeah, Rosebud was like, what was that? Was that Citizen Kane? Where the guy he was like on his deathbed saying Rosebud, and it turned out to be a Rosebud was the sled he had when he was a kid. Was that Citizen Kane? I don't think that was Citizen Kane, right? Oh, it is Citizen Kane. Oh my God. Yeah, I've never seen that movie. That's one of those classic, like, people still reference it to this day, and I have never seen the movie. Psycho. I don't think I've ever actually watched the movie Psycho. Citizen Kane was boring. Yeah, there's older movies like that tend to be a little more boring. Spoiler wouldn't stop me from playing or watching something unless it was really, really bad. But outside of that, it would just piss me off. Yeah, that's what bothers me more. Like I watched I watched the second Pirates of the Caribbean movie, knowing that the one character comes back at the end, and I was furious when that got spoiled for me. But yeah, but even then, I watched the movie like, maybe there's little clues as to when he comes up. Second watch films are always pretty great. That's how I was with Dragon Quest, because I knew it was good. Oh, you rewatched the Dragon Quest movie. I maybe I should sit back and rewatch that movie, especially the beginning. Not to mention, if I really like the gameplay of a game, the story could be terrible. Yeah, Dahai Wario, I can play a game with bad story and good mechanics, but not as much as I could play a game with. Well, no, yeah, I think I could play that better. Yeah, a game with good story and bad mechanics would make it very difficult for me. It's not really boring. It's just a product of its time. Ryan, it's a product of its time. Yes, absolutely. In the frame of today, I would say boring. But if you watch it understanding and accepting that it's an older movie, there are movies from the, because when was When was Citizen Kane? Hold on, let me see here. When was Citizen? Oh my god, I'm in caps. Kane. I have it as caps. 1941. Holy smokes, that movie's that old? My god. 1941. So, movies. Most movies back then were obviously products of their time, but didn't feature some of the things that we have today. One of the things I've noticed, if you ever watch older, this is sort of spinning off into a tangent. Older movies, one of the things that is missing the most from them is music. Music will allow a movie to transcend time. If you ever watch older movies that you are just kind of boring, pay attention. And the thing that you'll notice is missing the most is music. If you watch movies nowadays, there's music playing most of the time during a movie. It's sort of weird. Like, you don't really think about it. But whether it is songs or whether it is these little background sort of background tunes that are going on, a lot of movies are constantly playing music. Did I miss the last of it? Yeah, pretty much, Toshina. We're sort of on the tail end of it. I was shocked in the movie theater when I saw that character you're talking about. Yeah, right? Like, it's the end of the movie, and you're like, whoa, wait a minute, he came back. The ending of The Last of Us provoked a lot of different reactions from people. Shouldn't be shocking. Yeah, Mr. L, I'm used to that, though. I am still somebody who, and this is it. This is going to be the one. My hair is like doing something real weird. The complete ending of Mass Effect 3, I loved. I thought it was great. I thought the ending of that game was fantastic, and people hate it. Like, people really don't like it. Uptime says the game was uninteresting. Considering everything had to be recorded on records back then, it was much harder. Yeah, it was much harder than. Oh yeah, right. I understand, and that's why I say it's a product of its time. But I just noticed whenever people specifically I don't like older movies, they're boring. That's always the same thing for me. It's always the similar aspect of the movies.
Your ideas are intriguing to me, and I wish to subscribe to your newsletter.
Two-tailed Mischief, thank you so much for the follow. Welcome. I know it's Mischief, but I like saying Mischief. It's an older thing, but that's always been a common thing for me, is that there's just not a lot of music in movies. But yeah, like the Mass Effect ending, the third ending, I liked the ending of that. So if you would have spoiled it for me, it probably wouldn't have ruined it. I thought that the ending was great. I love Hitchcock movies. It can work without too. The Quiet Place is a great movie. Yeah, Lilac. In those situations, the silence is worked into the movie, though. When you have regular movies that are just regular people talking, and then there's nothing else, the dead points in the conversation become these voids of audio, which is just very weird. I watched an old 80s action movie last Christmas, and it was boring because it virtually had no soundtrack. I want to know which movie you watched. Yeah, Pika, I want to know which movie that was. Can the same be said about comparing live-action Mortal Kombat over the animated Scorpion's Revenge? I don't remember seeing the Scorpion's Revenge. The Mortal Kombat movie was great, and one of the reasons is because there was music in there. You know what I wanted to do? I always had this idea to make an action movie that was like 8 action sequences sort of strapped together in a way, like continuing from one to the other, and then music constantly playing and feeding the scenes. And when the scenes would be based on actual songs, not based on actual songs, but actual songs would be playing, like the song from start to finish would be playing. So then when you listen to the soundtrack and you're like, oh, okay, well, this is the soundtrack for that movie, the soundtrack plays at the exact same amount of time as the movie does. I don't know. I always thought that would be kind of interesting. Yeah, I wonder, Jeff, what it is that you thought was boring. What was happening? Was it, like I said, there was the music and the audio was just very, very blah. You know what I mean? I'm in that boat too. I liked the ME3 ending. I saw the whole game as an ending to each of your storylines. Yeah, I liked it. I thought it was good. Uh, I remember the full title. I never remember the full title, but it's about a guy called Snake who gets dropped into a dystopian prison to rescue the president. That's Escape from New York. Escape from L.A. I don't think he was rescuing the president. It was Escape from New York, which the channel, the Twitch channel that I watch that shows anime is actually based off of that movie. The channel I think is called Snake F and Plissken, which the character's name that's Kurt Russell, by the way. Kurt Russell was Snake Plissken, which the second Metal Gear game, Metal Gear Solid 2, the second Metal Gear Solid game, alludes to that movie. There's an allusion to that movie because the guy who was Snake that's pretending to not be Snake goes by Iroquois Pliskin. Yeah, in Sons of Liberty. Yeah, his name, he tells Raiden that his name is Iroquois Pliskin. And Pliskin was the last name of the character from Escape. It's Escape from New York, and then there was a sequel called Escape from LA. I don't think there was a third movie. And Snake in general is kind of based off Kurt Russell. Wait, Raiden? Raiden. Wasn't that his name? Or Raiden? I always said Raiden in Metal Gear Sons of Liberty. Yeah, that was a direct reference to them, to Kurt Russell's character. Yeah, movies. Older movies like that, older action movies, are difficult because sometimes the action is not as elaborate as we're used to. So it's weirder with, when people talk about like Alien, the first Alien, which was 1976, I think. That is not an action movie. A lot of people when they think about aliens, and no, Snake was based on Kyle Reese Terminator 1. Just look at the box of Metal Gear. Oh my god, yeah. Well, do I have the box for that? I don't have the box for that game. All I have is the cartridge. Yeah, his name is Pliskin. I think he says that it's Iroquois Pliskin. Yeah, it's movies, like older movie. Are we talking about movie or game? Metal Gear, the game. Yeah, it's Raiden. Yeah. I don't know if boring is what I'm looking for. It's not like I fell asleep through the movie. I had the same thoughts. Okay, Jerf, then I know what you're talking about. And on that, Jerf, I will agree with you. I found 2001: A Space Odyssey to be a fascinating and boring movie. There were a lot of dead points in the movie that don't hold your attention like they probably should. What I was going to say about the early 80s action movies is that they often did things differently because, they didn't have the special effects that we had. They didn't have the prop departments that we have nowadays. So the action was very strange sometimes compared to, we nowadays we get crazy camera angles and we get wild scenarios that you can't duplicate without using special effects. But back then, they didn't have a lot of that stuff. And when you talk about Escape from New York, they tried to make it some kind of realistic. Not enough guy booty. Alien. Oh, I was talking about Aliens. Alien was, for whenever people talk about Alien and they talk about action, it's like, no, okay, so what you're talking about is the second movie. You're talking about Aliens. Alien was a horror suspense, I guess you would say. That is not the same thing. That was the first Alien was not an action movie. But they found a way to take the not action and make it interesting by adding this horror suspense sort of aspect to it. Movies like 2001: A Space Odyssey, when it wasn't science-y, there was nothing else. It wasn't interesting. And then even the sequences were I mean, everybody knows about the 2000. We're off the rails at this point. Flip note. Everybody knows the 2001: Space Odyssey music, right? Everybody knows. Which is like when the Neanderthals discover like using tools. That is like they find the obelisk. They find the big black obelisk, and the obelisk is supposed to I think the obelisk is supposed to represent knowledge and intelligence. So then they interact with the obelisk and they're touching it, but then they learn how to use tools and stuff like that. So that's sort of the implication. That sequence is like 10-15 minutes long, it's we have seen it referenced dozens of times in dozens of different media, but realistically, when you actually watch the movie and you watch that sequence, it's so long. And so yeah, so it's easy to watch 2001 and think this is boring. It was an impressive tech demo about nothing. I thought that the plot was interesting for what plot there was. People find different movies boring. I personally found both Lord of the Rings and the Matrix movies boring. While I like the theme, the aesthetic, I can see why people love it so much. For me personally, I could never get into it. I find myself being bored and my mind wanders. I would say it's the length. But then I can watch other films that are around. You're not the only one, Lilac. I know several people who don't like The Matrix, and Lord of the Rings is interesting to them. But there is, the complaint I've heard about Lord of the Rings is that it's a lot of walking, right? They're always walking somewhere. It's 3 movies of walking. Like that's the funny complaint that I've heard. So I get that. Yeah, I absolutely. And The Matrix. And The Matrix can be. The Matrix is very, especially in the first movie, it's very psychological in the sense that you're supposed to come out of the Matrix in a way evaluating the world around you, right? And sort of looking for these signs that what if we're in the Matrix? Like that was always the big thing. Like this could be the Matrix, and you sort of reevaluate your existence when you finish watching the Matrix. 1, 2, and 3 were just action movies. They were just fun action movies. Lord of the Rings it was a lot of walking. So yeah, I get it. And I love those series. I love those franchises. I like Matrix more than I like Lord of the Rings. But I love those franchises. But I get it when somebody else tells me that they found them kind of boring. Say the same thing about the first Star. Mr. L, the first Star Trek movie was a terrific Stanley Kubrick movie. Even though it wasn't the slow motion picture. What I say about Star Trek 1, the motion picture, is that it is a great sci-fi Stanley Kubrick movie like 2001: A Space Odyssey. But it did exactly the same thing. There's the sequence where they go to the Enterprise on the shuttlecraft because they don't want to use the teleporter because they melted 2 people at the beginning of the movie. They use the shuttlecraft and they're flying around the Enterprise, and you take a look at it and you're like, oh wow, it's so cool. It's the Enterprise. It's a 5 freaking minute long sequence. Come on. That's not Star Trek. That has never been Star Trek. And that's why when people argue about the first Star Trek movie or the 5th Star Trek movie, they ask which one is worse. I say the same thing. The first Star Trek movie was actually not an awful movie. If you watch it like a Stanley Kubrick movie, which is who did 2001, if you watch it like that, it's a decent movie. But as a Star Trek movie, it's awful. As a Star Trek movie, it's a god-awful movie. But as a Stanley Kubrick slow sci-fi movie, it's actually relatively decent. It's got an interesting story. There's an interesting concept. We all love V'ger, which is a weird word to say. But yeah, it's you just kind of if you change what you expect out of it, you enjoy it. But yeah, ultimately it's a movie. Opening to A New Hope. Oh my god, yeah. Now I want to rewatch Star Trek 4 again. Oh my god, with the whales. I love Star Trek. Okay, now we're way off the rails if we're talking about Star Trek. We're talking specifically about Star Trek movies. So, this is the viewer I apologize again for no graphics. This is the viewer topic portion. So if you have anything you would like to discuss, if you want to ask me a question, this is I think it's one thing that people never remember or realize, or maybe I don't put it out there enough, is that this is also a Q&A segment. So if you have any questions that you want to ask me, you are free to. But if you have any topics that you want to discuss, the things that came up throughout the week that maybe I missed or just didn't think there were enough to talk about, this is your chance to present them and let me know if there's anything. Wait, is the airspeed velocity? Wait, what is the airspeed velocity of an unladen swallow? I don't know. Would it be equal to an unladen vomit? I don't know. Team mayo or team ketchup? While I don't like either one, I don't like mayo and I don't like ketchup, I choose team ketchup because ketchup is primarily tomatoes and I like those. So that's I like pasta sauce, and ketchup is closer to pasta sauce than mayo. So there we go. Admittedly, though, I like team mayo because when you shoot the ink, okay, never mind. We'll just let that one go. How many licks does it take to get shot? Is that what that's supposed to be? Mr. L played Streets of Rage 4. I did not. Okay, I did not play Streets of Rage 4 because it's $30 seems a bit much for me. But the game does look super awesome. Please. So yeah, not yet. That is definitely. You know what though? I'll get to Streets of Rage 4 after I get to River City Girls. I will probably play River City Girls before I play Streets of Rage 4, maybe. Why are there stormtroopers in Star Wars coloring books? Because it is an opportunity for kids to use the black crayon to work on their shadowing, and they can use different colors to make the sparks when the stormtroopers eventually get hit, which is what they're good at. I saw Disney retcon Star Wars and themselves with their only ever hold on. Did they retcon it, saying that it's not just one master and one apprentice? Now they're saying there's two masters and two apprentices. That's crap. that's nonsense. I refuse to acknowledge it. I refuse to acknowledge that, Lilac. Man, loose hair everywhere. I'm kind of conflicted. I care about the health of people around the world, but the economy is gonna fall at this point. Are you pro or anti reopening businesses? I am anti reopening everything as normal. I think it is we're getting to the point where it's time to evaluate which businesses need to remain closed. Entertainment venues, businesses where people gather, don't need to be open right now. They should not be open right now. But you have things like restaurants that are still preparing and serving food, but they're doing it as pickup. You know, there are ways to open more businesses, but not everything fully open yet. Absolutely not. No way whatsoever. Yes, if the economy is falling flat, then it needs to restructure itself in a way that it doesn't happen again. Because if you just go back, this is the same thing that I've been talking about with people, is the same thing with the economy, is the same thing with the healthcare structure. If it is falling apart, because that is an indication that some aspects of it weren't working before and they need to be rebuilt differently. You cannot just go back to normal because that normal didn't work. We know that normal didn't work because it fell apart at the slightest of stresses, which this is hardly a slight stress, but people were talking about their businesses being in danger of not being open a month ago when all of this started. You know, right shortly after all of this started. If you can't close your business and stay afloat, something's wrong with your business model. Something is wrong with your income, and that needs to be restructured. Let me see here. Average cruising airspeed, unladen European swallow. What did you think of Cuphead? I thought Cuphead was fantastic. Are you looking forward to the DLC? I'm looking forward to the DLC very much. The Netflix series, we'll see what happens. I may care, I may not care. That's really just a wait and see. But I definitely want to play the DLC now. I have to make a Tootsie Pop reference in these things. Did you look at the review I sent you for the Switch version? Lilac, I saw that it runs fine, which I'll be honest, I looked at footage of the game before and it looked like it was going to run fine. The Switch, I think we're past the point where 2D games in particular, we need to question whether or not they work on the Switch. If Call of Duty Warzone came out on the Switch, I would question how it's going to look. But Streets of Rage 2, nothing told me that it wasn't going to run. Like, there was no indication that it wasn't going to work. I never at any point did I look at Streets of Rage 2 footage and think, I don't know if that's going to work on the Switch. You know, so yeah, I did read it, but I was it was not a surprise to me that it runs fine. I wanted to bring this up. Metropolitan Museum of Art, the Met, put up a collection on their website in which you can turn individual pieces of art into QR code. That's kind of cool. I like that Animal Crossing is transcending video gaming and becoming a pop culture phenomena. See, that's the thing. Like, a lot of people talk about how Animal Crossing's been popular for a while, but it was always popular within the Nintendo community, and a little bit out there. Animal Crossing is now transcending video games, and people who don't play video games are talking about Animal Crossing. There was a thing I posted the other day about how Tom Nook cutting his interest rates. Because Nintendo cutting the interest rates because of people time traveling made it to the front page of the Financial Times, which is wild. And I think there was a picture of Tom Nook somewhere in the issue. If you set the bar low to start a game hold on. Once I bring this up, oh yeah, if you set the bar low to start in a game of Limbo, are you not setting the bar high? Yes and no. The bar is low, but the goal is high. And I would argue, Ryan, when you set the bar lower, how high are you? 2 masters and 2 apprentices. Yeah, that's kind of nonsense. Considering the overall popularity of the Metroid series, do you know why Metroid Prime 4 has gotten so much hype behind it? Every time Retro Studios puts up another job posting, people get frisky. Do I know why Metroid Prime 4 has gotten so much hype? Literally just the time in between games. From Metroid Prime 3 to Metroid Prime 4 is a huge gap, and the game that was in the middle, people didn't care about. I think people are starting to realize that Metroid is actually kind of awesome, so that's very nice. But I think as far as Metroid Prime 4 in particular, I think it's a lot of just, it's time and it's hype, and this is something people have been waiting for a while. So I think that helps. Diablo 3, I remember when Diablo 3 came out, there was a lot of hype around it, and part of that hype was because it had been a while since Diablo 2 came out. And now Diablo 4, who knows what's going to happen, but there's a lot of hype around the announcement of that because it's been so long since Diablo 3 came out. I'd like to hear more of your insight for being an uncle. I'm not particularly nervous about it, but I'd like to hear your experiences. Let me jump ahead here. Dreams of Silver. Sorry, I'm missing a lot of messages. Lizard, have a good one. I'm sorry that your mood is shot. I'm sorry that we did that to you. To jump ahead here really quick, I am Dreams of Silver. I am 41. I'd like to hear more of your insight for being an uncle. I'm not particularly nervous about it, but I'd like to hear about your experiences. Husky, I won't get into my experiences, but what I'll tell you is that I've had this theory for a while. I'll later flip note. I've had this theory for a while that a child growing up, their interactions with people are related to certain behaviors that they may experience, or certain ideas that they're going to experience. When you are growing up, the first adults you interact with are your parents, your mother and your father. One of those is inevitably the disciplinarian, and one of those is inevitably the caregiver. Whether they're the same person or not, I don't know. That may differ from people to people. As a result, what will happen is, if your mother is your caregiver, you will find an affinity towards women as you grow up, because women, your first experience with an adult woman was your caregiver. Whereas if she was your disciplinarian, you may associate more with guys because you have not a negative view of women, but you associate the first female adult that you interacted with punishment to an extent, which is probably also what leads to guys going to see dominatrixes, because they are women who you associate with punishment, only in a good way. The interactions that you have with the first people you meet often guide a lot of different things. Ginger Man Prime, thank you so much for the invitation to the host club. And Linky, looks like a raid is about to come in. Linky, thank you so much for the raid. Very much appreciate that. Welcome everybody from Linky's stream. Getting back to my point, the the interactions that you have with adults will often shape what you think of them. Aunts and uncles are the first interactions that most kids will have with adults that are not their parents, right? They are the first adults that you will closely interact with that are not your disciplinarian, that are not your caregiver. So this is often, to me, aunts and uncles are what you will come to expect out of all of the other adults, right? They are the, because that's your caregivers and your disciplinarians are a small group. That's your parents. It'll be your bosses later on in life. Your aunts and uncles, for the most part, are just fun adults. So that's your job as an aunt or an uncle, is to be a fun adult. You be serious when you need to be, but it's never your responsibility to be the disciplinarian. It's never your responsibility to be outrightly the caregiver. You know, it's your responsibility, in my opinion, to be the fun adult, to be the first time that and this is another big point. Kids will view adults as what they see, and early on, all they see in adults are caregiver and disciplinarian. Aunts and uncles may be the first time that a kid sees a grown-up that is neither one of those things and gets an idea of, oh, you can be an adult and have fun. Like, I don't need to worry about growing up and turning into an a-hole or something, because here is an adult in front of me and it's fun. Holy smokes. Anti-AI Allegiance, rating with a party of 6. Welcome, Anti-AI Allegiance. That's our third raid today. We are rocking and rolling with the raids. Welcome everybody. Was that Koopa is a Koopa? Koopa is a Koopa. That's debatable. There is a debate to be had there. If you had it already, then I wish I was there. But yeah, grandparents are another one. Okay, so grandparents. This is spawning into a different topic. Grandparents are, yes, they are adults, but for a lot of people, the grandparents are also the caregivers. But grandparents occupy a unique area, because grandparents are some of the only people that have dominance in some way over your parents, right? They're the first. Grandparents may be the first. Yeah, they're more like secondary parents. Your grandparents might discipline you. They will very often be your caregivers, but they also, when you view interactions, you view a sense of dominance over your parents, right? Because they are not only your grandparents, they are your parents' parents. So you're seeing a sort of skewed version of a hierarchy. Aunts and uncles they're just adults. They're just grown up. Yes, they're your relatives, and they are your parents' relatives, but ultimately, from your perspective, they're just grown-ups. Ride Disable. Since the stream is almost over, well, we'll see what happens. We'll see how long we ramble on for. And I think, Rye, I think you mentioned cousins. Cousins, to me, were your first friends. For a lot of people, your cousins were your first friends because your aunts and uncles had kids. They were probably around the same age group, so you were forced to play together. So your interaction with your cousins may be analogous to your first friends. You probably played with your cousins before you played with kids at school. But that's always been an idea of mine, that your first interactions with your family members represent different facets of what will come to be your daily life and your interactions through your daily life. So how you interact with them. So this all comes back to Husky. Husky was asking about being a better uncle. So my recommendation is to be the fun adult, to make sure that the child understands that you are looking out for their best interest, but ultimately it is to do fun things with them. It is to enjoy their company and to have them enjoy your company and to be an outlet for them. You know, very commonly there are family situations where kids will talk to their aunts and uncles before they'll talk to their parents, because when they talk to their parents, they're expecting a reaction, right? Like, oh my God, I did this bad thing. If I tell my mom, she's going to punish me. If I tell my dad, I'm going to get punished. Like they're expecting some sort of reaction. When they tell an aunt or uncle, they're not really expecting a reaction because this person isn't the disciplinarian. What they're going to expect, what I would expect, is advice. Is someone to listen to what these are the first adults that may listen to what you have to say and may talk to you instead of talk at you, and that's an important thing to do. So just being a good aunt or uncle, make sure that that's what you're doing. I'm gonna scroll up here. I thought somebody said something. I think I missed a lot. I rambled a lot, so I missed a lot. Let's see here. I'm sort of skimming, so I apologize. All right. So yeah, so I'm gonna skim past there. Don't forget step family members and half siblings. Those are awkward. Those are weird sort of situations. I think step family members represent people who may come into your life without any warning. They always just sort of randomly decide to be there. So that's interesting. Thank you, Greg. I became an uncle last year. Oh, fantastic. Congratulations. You are very insightful. I do my best. I do my Pika, I appreciate that. Thank you for that. All I can do whenever I talk about that kind of stuff, the only thing I can do is to give you my advice from my point of view. I can't, we have our psychology doctorate is from the internet, so it's not verifiable. I got my psychology degree from the same place that I got my law degree, which is online, and not actual online, just experiences. I never had any cousins around that were my own age. Now I have much younger cousins, and we very much have a not adult and child type of relationship. Okay. My aunt was a strict lady. She told me, my mom, and she told my mom if she caught us doing anything we shouldn't. So we had already told my mom and dad that she would punish us, not to the same level. Yeah, see, in Lilac, I'd be curious to know, as you were growing up, what your thoughts of adults were, because here you have one of the first adults that wasn't supposed to be a disciplinarian turning into one. So I wonder, did you start to view all adults that way? Like when you were a kid, were adults the enemy? Were they not the enemy, but were they the ones that you had to keep things from because you were going to get in trouble? I hate my step siblings. Thank God my mom was divorced. While my cousin's kids were still young, I took the role of the fun grand cousin who always brought the video game. Yeah, that's like the cool uncle, and you never know. You become the cool uncle. Maybe one of those kids grows up to make a YouTube channel. Yeah, enemy. Good Lord, it's real. Yeah, not enemy. Enemy is a strong word, but there is a sort of me versus them aspect. When you're kids, especially, that's sort of how you view the world, and it's understandable. Because it's the only way to view the world is that there's kids and there's adults, and that's the way you're treated as a kid. Your entire existence as a child is about going to school and doing kid things, which is and then everything else is adults. So that's understandable that you come to realize that, and that's why aunts and uncles are so vital. Because aunts and uncles are the first time that you're supposed to, as a child, say, okay, so not all adults are the enemy. But what happens if you only have one aunt and one uncle and they're both terrible people? You're going to keep continuing to think that adults are not to be trusted. No, I had another aunt and uncle that I could talk to, and they were a lot calmer. And then my other uncle was the cool uncle. He got me games, showed me and my cousins how to use a computer and how to play games. Yeah. Then you have the teens that are kind of the abomination. Teens are. Listen, I spent a few years as a teenager. Before that got sort of taken away from me. Yeah, being a teenager is terrible. Dealing with teenagers can be awful. Being a teenager is awful. Yeah, it's sort of tricky. Okay, I don't have to turn the pictures off because I didn't have any pictures. That is going to do it for today. We are going to wrap up right now. Before you go, I have a big favor that I need to ask everybody. If you're watching this on YouTube right now, this does not pertain to you. I need the live audience here to do something with me to help me out here. What I'm going to ask you to do is to stick around until after the credits. Let the credits roll. The screen's going to go black, and then I'll come back on, and I want to ask you to stick around to help me out with something. So for right now, let me get my other buttons ready. Right now, I want to say thank you to everybody who stopped in and listened to this set of topics, ramblings. Lilac always hits me with the ribs at the scariest possible times. It always makes my heart jump a little bit, but I love it. Thank you, Lilac, for the 100 bits to scare me with the ribs. I don't know. I may have to turn the volume down on that one. I know that everybody's not a big fan of that. Thank you to everybody who is sticking around, who has stuck around and listened to our crazy conversation, our wild ramblings. I very much appreciate that. If you are watching this live right now and you have not done so yet, please go ahead and click follow. And if you have already done so, also consider subscribing, whether you use a regular subscription or you use your Twitch Prime sub. Always very much appreciate that. If you're watching, also check the links down below to follow me over on Twitter, which is where I post. I like to post a lot of funny different things or topics, and then I also will talk about the scheduling here for the Twitch stream. Also follow me over on YouTube. I have all these buttons here that I'm supposed to be pushing. Follow me over on YouTube, which is where I re-upload all of these episodes. I'm supposed to be. I'm like a few episodes back, but I re-upload them there so you can watch them in pieces. If you're watching this on YouTube, thank you so much for that. I very much appreciate that. Also, please go ahead and click follow, or it's called subscribe on YouTube, and check the links down below to follow me over on Twitter, and follow us over on Twitch, where we do the show live Fridays, 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. Eastern. We also stream 3 times a week, but you can check the schedules for that. Thank you, everybody, so much. Take care of yourselves, all right? I want everybody to take care of yourselves. Like I said, stick around for after the credits. Take care of yourselves. Have a great weekend, if you can even distinguish the weekend from the rest of the week. But enjoy yourselves. Play some fun games. Spend some time with your family, since I know it's so difficult that we haven't seen them or we're stuck with them. And I will see you all next time.